All hail the shadow, heroes rise again. Now, I mean, for real, it's a lot refreshing to have the Sonic IP back on track. The new movie is looking amazing, and the Shadow Generation got me incredibly hyped. Of course, if we ignore like the not remake part of the game that isn't Shadow Generation. But I can say confidently right now that Sonic is in a better place than Minecraft. I mean, just look at the recent live action trailer reaction. People really didn't like it. Heck, I still remember the boycott fan had on TikTok about the upcoming Minecraft update, which was about crab and penguin and all that, and Mojang just decided to ignore, which made all the boycott just fade away. Now, of course, I'm praising Sonic's current state, but I still remember when I was younger how bad Sonic games were seen at one point. You know, people were trashing on 06, justifiably. They were dissing the adventure game, which were I admired when I was a kid. And Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric just really didn't help the whole situation. So I'm happy that Sonic is getting back on track. I remember as a kid watching Sonic X and being excited for upcoming episode. And back then, I would be playing with my bros Sonic 2 and 3 and Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06. A lot of Sonic 06. And I can understand the hate people had for Sonic 06. But I have to be honest. Back then and still to this day, I only have good memories of it. And that's what I want this video to be about. My little adventure with the Sonic franchise as a fan throughout the year, and how people seem to react about Sonic around me and how I felt about that. So I got introduced to Sonic with the PS2 Sonic Mega Collection. Why did you get the Mega Collection? I don't know, I was a kid. You get any type of game where like the character looked cool. Especially in the cover art, because that's the only way you knew what game were good back then, was looking at the cover art of the game. Anyway, they had almost every game in it, well, as far as they released, including a few Sega games like Comic Zone that was absolutely peak. And you know, since I would always play with my bro, I would pass most of the time playing Sonic 2 as Tail. I would take some hit for Sonic since the character was immortal and didn't need any ring, help him fly over level or section of the level that was too annoying to deal with, and be the guy to take down the boss whenever Sonic was out of ring. So I was basically the cannon fodder when I was playing as Tail, but I had a lot of fun. After finishing the game, we would play it again to explore every level and find the Chaos Emerald. And that was such a blast when we finally got Super Sonic, and how excited I was. Like, holy shit, I got rewarded for exploring the level, and now I got this cool transformation. And we did the same thing in Sonic 3 with Hypersonic, and I have to say that transformation is really dear to my heart. Please Sega, bring it back. The soft white that slowly turned into a green, pink and yellow flash was just so cool to me back then. And yeah, it kinda looked like Rainbow Sonic, but I just find it so cool how it would flash, and it's basically just a white Sonic that kinda shift hue every now and then with a little sparkle. Just he looked godly, and that always made me feel like, ah man, that's such a cool transformation. But that's just me, you know. Then I eventually heard about adventure games that were pretty good. I had a neighbor who had Adventure 2, and I was so jealous. He invited me to play with him once at his house, and when I played with him, I picked Metal Sonic in a race, and I can still remember how beautiful the game looked back then. And I just knew at that moment I needed to get that game eventually, or just, you know, just somehow play it, which I did, like 10 years later. But we will get into that eventually, maybe not in this video. Anyway, I don't know how long after that, but later on we got two Sonic games basically at the same time. One was Sonic Heroes, and the other was Shadow the Hedgehog. When we played Sonic Hero, we tried to pass the control among the three of us. Blue played with Sonic, Red with Knuckle, and me, since, you know, it color match Tail. I know it sounds weird, but we would change as we need to and pass the controller around in every mission, since some moment mission will require a specific character. And I have this specific memory where there was a level in Sonic Team where in this level, I don't know the reason, but the Sonic Team would be in the jungle and they were trying to hunt down a frog that when he danced, he would make it rain, and that would somehow make mushroom grow out of the ground, and you could progress with those mushrooms since you could bounce on them. But besides the Sonic team, we play all the other team as well. But this time we tried to be more focused, where we had one guy play with the full team all the way through. So Blue would play with Chaos team, Red would play with the Amy Rose team, since in the lucky draw he got the bad hand, and I would play with Team Dark with Shadow. And that, with the Shadow game, was kind of my first introduction to the Ultimate Life Form. You know, Shadow the game today is mostly used as a meme, since the game was trying to be darker, using words like damn and other hardcore stuff like gone. But I can't hide it. The intro still to this day is so fucking cool for me. Him riding a bike, fighting alien, teleporting around, and you know, fighting against human soldier and doing some chaos blast energy. It just looked cool. Also the fact that he was using gun, especially gun, pretty fucking badass. Like holy shit, how cool was that, man? Especially for me as a kid, I was like holy fuck, this guy to catch me. I like the design a lot. But beside that, I also like who he was. Like Shadow was a character that looked evil and acted a little bit like a prick, but was actually a good guy, which just sounded more like a badass, right? Now as a kid, I did end up finishing the game, but because I wasn't as good, I remember trying to have the good ending by always doing the good deed, but I could never do it because some specific level you had to finish the level in a time limit, and I couldn't do it. And there were some level that I just would find so annoying, where you had to find every black creature and eliminate them all toward the map, but you didn't know where they were. It was like finding the Easter eggs. It was so annoying. But I did end up like finishing the game on neutral, surprisingly at my young age. And I did went back at one point to play the Shadow game, and I had to be honest, when I went back, I still remember not being disappointed. Some levels were fun and some were kinda awkward, but the whole experience was enjoyable. Also the whole game was introducing like alien concept, and that Shadow was part alien, which meant that maybe he was built to fight against the Black Hand, which in of itself I remember finding such a cool concept. And I really like that in Shadow Generation you can still see that they kept the alien stuff in Shadow, like just the bad guy in it. It's fucking cool that they kept him. Part of me is because of nostalgia, but you know, I'm kinda hyped that, oh, I didn't play this game for nothing, you know. Now, among the Sonic game for the PS2, that was it. Sonic was fairly loved and it had its fair share of fan base, but in general there was nothing to hate. Well, maybe for the fan base, but not for the franchise or the IP. Until, you know, a specific Sonic game came out in 2006 on the PS3, and you know, it came out with a lot of bugs, incredibly long loading, with other loading that are unnecessary, awkward control, and a kiss that even kid me was lifting an eyebrow at. But that's what everyone said. That's what everyone already said. So why not let's just say what I felt when I played this game, in my experience back then. First of all, just the concept of this game where you play with three main hedgehogs that all play drastically different. Well, kind of similar, but they're mostly different, and they're all incredibly badass in concept, and they still are. You had Sonic, you know, the main guy, the mascot, that, you know, classic gameplay. He unlocked as he progressed more Chaos Emerald, and each Chaos Emerald give him different power, like changing size, boosting his speed, slowing down time, and many more. I think one was teleportation, so insane stuff. Shadow was the hedgehog created in the past, and he was more combat heavy with a lot of different vehicles he could access as he progressed in the level, like his bike or his truck or his glider. He also had his chaos control or chaos blast power. Silver was the hedgehog from the future that came back to save his time, and he was so cool with his design, and he had telekinesis power that when he used them would do a blue highlight on his silver fur, which looks so fucking cool. Which the three of them just make this all fucking sick in concept, where one hedgehog is from the past, the other is from the future, and this one, Sonic, is just from the present. Now, no matter how nostalgia is big on this game for me, there's no way to hide it that the gameplay wasn't the best, and it was pretty broken, even for me as a kid. But I still had my fun playing the PvP mode. If Silver caught you once while you were racing, he could do the entire level while keeping you stuck at the beginning of the level. Unless if he got hit by an enemy, then he would drop you. So you would hope to God that he doesn't catch up to you, or that if he caught you, that eventually you get hit. Sonic, while you playing against him on PvP, could make himself go small and literally do infinite jump, which would make him go over obstacle in which he had to fight against an enemy, or slow down time for everyone except for him, so he really had a head start over everyone. Now, Shadow among those two guys was the weaker one. He wasn't the quickest and he really didn't have any cheat like them, but he would dispatch enemies the quickest among them since he was so much combat based. If you were unlucky next to him while he had his Chaos Blast, well, he would knock you out and you had to go back to a checkpoint while he could progress. Now, it was broken and unfair, but really fun. For me, it wasn't broken back then, it was just the way it was, you know. Except when you would play like the main story, where sometimes Silver would bug you in a wall and keep you stuck there because he would keep throwing you on the wall, and then accidentally you pick up a ring and you still hear him say over and over, "It's no use!" Or that sometimes you would just be walking and then suddenly Sonic just fade in the ground and then you die because you somehow clip through the ground. But you know, beside those moments where it was broken like that, or when the gameplay was clunky as you were playing with Tail, I'd say like in general the gameplay had potential. And if you never listened to any music of Sonic 06, you're missing out on some of the best music any Sonic game ever had, like His World, All Hell Shadow, and the music of Silver, whatever the name is, I keep forgetting. And I think it's a shame the game got rushed and released in this broken state, because that one was the last time any Sonic game would take itself seriously with complicated and unique and, you know, interesting plot. I'm not saying there's not any interesting plot later on, but I feel like this was the only one that was trying to do something. Like, people mention a lot about the awkward romance they had in Sonic 06, but I personally think it's not that bad. I would see on TV like Sonic sometimes would date Sally, and personally, for me, since she wasn't a hedgehog, I always found that weird. But you know, I got over it. So I was like, alright, he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't date with Amy, I guess. And I guess for me, it was kind of the same thing for Human, right? Oh yeah, it made me lift an eyebrow and it was kind of pretty weird. But I just, you know, I got over it. It didn't really took away from the impact of the moment where Sonic was like kind of dead. She brought him back to life with a kiss, which was kind of wholesome or sweet, or I don't know. But yeah, from what I remember of the story, I remember it was good, you know. And Mephiles is still one of the coolest design of a villain. Granted, he looked like Shadow, but the idea that he copied Shadow body since he didn't have one of his own, and then he slowly corrupt that body into a more monster design with crystal coming out of him is just really so cool. So you gotta give credit to that. Don't get me wrong, Metal Sonic is still fucking sick, especially the Metal Sonic Hero. That's just the best design ever for a villain. Now, since the game was a massive flop, some game got trashed heavily after that, which, you know, the game got really infamous for how broken it was and how weird some stuff about it was, just like the moment where Sonic kissed a human. After that, people went back to play older Sonic game, and some games that were considered good, such as Adventure 1 and Adventure 2, suddenly they were called bad and broken and clunky. Which, yeah, they kind of are clunky. They can be a little bit broken sometimes, but they weren't bad. That hate kept growing, and it went to a point where Sonic Twitter, like the official Twitter account, started to call their game trash. There was this quote that an employee that worked for IGN said, "Sonic was never good." And when he said that, it wasn't really a hot take for the public, but more like a statement, since everyone kinda agreed that Sonic was bad. So, you know, it didn't really help that the good game that came out at that time were Wii exclusive game, and not many people could play those games. You know, Sega didn't really learn to that mistake. Now there's this new game that's only available on Google, whatever console it is. And as I said, Sonic Boom really didn't help and brought its own controversy, which after all that fiasco about Sonic being bad and all that. New Sonic story were mostly fun, lighthearted stuff. They weren't trying to take themselves too seriously, except for Frontier. It tried to be more emotional and serious, which I kinda like. Too bad I find the game kinda mid as fuck, but I'm happy that people like Sonic Frontier. And personally, the open world idea was always something that Sonic should have at least attempt to do once, and maybe like dabble in it a few more times, like in a few more games. So I'm glad we might get to see more Sonic game like that. Anyway, Sonic was an all-time low, at least until Sonic Unleashed and Generation came out. All this was circulating on the internet that it was good, but the Warhog part was meh. Yes, I'm gonna do this again, but the Warhog design is absolutely sick as hell. I don't like the shoe. Sega, you could change the shoe, cause the shoe look really bad, but everything else is perfect, man. It just look really cool. So please bring it back for some kind of spin-off or transformation you can get or unlock, or a skin. Really, I'll take a skin. It's really cool. Anyway, it's Generation that really did it for people in Sonic fan. It kind of shifted everything to, hey, Sonic was actually good at one point. They weren't always bad game. Now Sonic Boom came out after and kind of put the momentum of Sonic game back to zero, but people still remembered Generation in their head as a good game and what Sonic could achieve. And then the movie came out looking bad. There was like picture of him with muscular leg, and the fan got him redesigned with smaller leg, but then he came out looking like a rat. So then the fan asked for a redesign again, since he looked a lot like a rat. Like, holy crap. And until what we have today. And now, since the design was pretty good, people were willing to watch it. Good news, the movie turned out to work. It was kind of fun. And so they made a sequel, which brought up more momentum to the hype of Sonic. And then there were more games of Sonic that came out, like Sonic Force, which wasn't really good, but it wasn't buggy and broken, but still people bought it. So then they released more game, and the movie got even more successful, and here we are today with Sonic Frontier that people enjoy, the upcoming Sonic 3 movie. Now that we're here, I have to say I'm more excited than ever being a Sonic fan. The trailer of the Minecraft movie got every Minecraft fan absolutely disappointed, and meanwhile Sonic 3 is looking amazing. So I feel bad for the Minecraft fan, but I feel like we're in a good place. It could be better for the Sonic game, and I feel like we could get there, like we're the next Sonic game that's gonna come out besides Shadow Generation would be an absolute banger, and if they really try, the story could be amazing. But right now I'm happy with where I'm at with Sonic. There's also like Sonic comic that I heard were actually good. I should go read that. But that was kind of my journey with the Sonic IP toward the year. A very shortened adventure, but one that maybe make you understand that when people started to call some of those Sonic games bad, it wasn't really that bad. Maybe it was just in the hype of the hate. Anyway, like the video if you liked it, subscribe to not miss any of our video, and until we see each other again, have a good day.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. Too many things going on, I can't keep track of them all. From people dropping